What's going on, guys? So today, I'm gonna be hitting on quite a few different bullet points. So this video will be a little longer than most of my past videos, but the goal is to give you guys some pertinent information as it pertains to the valet trash and get your engines turning so you can start landing some of these contracts. Because see, the bottom line is most people have no idea how profitable the valet trash industry can actually be. All people see is trash bags sitting outside the apartment doors, but what they don't see is the recurring revenue, the long-term contracts, and the million-dollar companies being built behind the scenes. So today, I'm actually going to break down how valet trash companies really make the money. I'm going to expose some of the mistakes most new companies make and what nobody really tells you before starting. So the first thing I want to go over is how the business actually works. Excuse me. And at its core, valet trash itself is simple. Apartment communities hire companies to collect residents' trash from outside their doors, and they take it to the dumpster or the compactor several nights a week. And companies are typically paid per apartment unit. That's also known as the per door rate. And the industry average is anywhere from around $10, especially in my market. Now, obviously, if you're able to get a little more per door rate, go for the gusto, but you have to do your homework and due diligence to figure out what the market is doing. And I'll give you guys some strategies in some later videos on how to navigate what other competitors are charging, because nobody's just gonna come out and tell you unless you build relationships. But again, try to get all the money if you can. But as far as the range, the lowest I've ever seen was $8 a door. The highest I've ever seen was $18 a door, and that totally depends on your market. Some of the things that dictate the door price are luxury communities. And what I mean by luxury, everybody sells the moniker of, oh, this is a luxury apartment. But get used to the terminology of a multi-family living quarters, a Class A apartment. Those are going to be your fairly new apartments with the newer amenities, some of the newer technologies. Those are really the ones you want to go after. Now, mind you, there are some properties that are considered Class C. And usually those apartments, it's not really more or less the year they were built. But I tell you, for me, any apartment that was built before the year 2000, I would consider that a Class C simply because the build and the layout isn't conducive to valet trash, because valet trash has only been around since '95. So a lot of those apartments weren't really built for that type of service. But the type of community can adjust the price, the competition in your market. You have some larger competitors that come in and try to undercut the price. I remember we tried to fly off the radar our first year in business because we found out one of the industry leaders was offering free service for a year. And the reason they were doing that is because they wanted the little guy to go away, because they knew that they could not compete with our quality. So they had to try to hit the customer on the bottom line and say, hey, I can make you this much. And obviously a smaller company, you can't survive doing free for a year. So just throwing that out there, but definitely know who the larger players are in your market, and that'll give you a balance on what you can and cannot charge. And so those larger companies, man, they come in and intentionally lower the price again to try to push you out. The next thing I want to talk about or hit on a little bit is profit margins. Now, the thing people get excited about is strict revenue, and that's just your gross income on what you're making. But honestly, revenue means nothing if your margins are terrible. And at scale, your profit margins should never fall below 10%. Personally, at scale, you want to be doing at least 15%. But I've done a little research, and not just on what my company does, but just research on waste management in general, not even the valet trash industry, but just waste management in general. I've seen an average on 10 to 12, you're doing good, 10 to 12% net. Now, when you first start out, your margins are actually going to be really high. So don't be misled by that, because as you grow and as you start hiring operations managers, certain positions that can cut into your bottom line, your margins won't be as high starting out, because typically, if I were you starting out, before you got 1,000 units, I would be out there working all of the properties myself on a nightly basis. Not only will you be able to have a pretty substantial profit margin, you'll also learn the ins and outs of the industry, because believe you me, as simple as it looks, there's always things that you can overlook just by not working it. But speaking on the profit margin from a smaller company or a startup, you can do anywhere, man. We probably was profiting about 40%, but obviously it was just us working. So that's just something to throw out there. But once you begin to scale, your biggest expenses are going to be your payroll, your insurance, your workers' comp. And that's where a lot of companies get in trouble, because what you start doing, not only have you not included that, you start overhiring. And the thing that kills a lot of companies is their systems. I remember I met a guy years ago when we were first starting out, and he was like, man, write down everything. And I really didn't fully understand what he meant by that. But I have for spreadsheets, I have CRMs, I have all of the things that are conducive to me being on top of my operations. I know where all the key box systems are. I know how to effectively train on a property, because your service is going to be the lifeblood of your business. And poor training will kill your business faster than anything else. It could lead to operational inefficiencies. And now when you start hiring people, they're going to start saying that the money's not making sense because they weren't trained effectively. So a lot of companies know how to grow revenue, but again, they don't know how to protect profitability. And that's something that's really important starting out. So again, that's something I can talk about in later videos as far as how much do you pay per contract and how that kind of works. The next thing I want to talk about in this video is 1099 subcontractors versus employees. Now, I will tell you, in essence, as far as the work itself, a 1099 contractor and an employee does the same type of job. It just looks different on paper, and a lot of times when you get to talking to your clients, they just feel like when it comes to 1099s, they get leery because it's almost in their mind, oh, they're not here to stay, or they get the notion that you're going to have 4 different people working their property a night. And that's not really the case. So a lot of times you can tell them that they're employees, even though on the back end, they're subcontractors. And I'm not telling you to be misleading, but honestly, it has no bearings on their operations. And to be quite frank with you, they just want the work to get done efficiently and effectively, because valet trash is a direct reflection of the property management company. So if you're dropping the ball doing bad, they're going to get bad reviews for the apartment, and nobody wants that. But in full transparency, it's actually easier in the beginning to have 1099s because it's much less paperwork and just less overhead, because you don't have to worry about payroll taxes. But eventually, as you scale, you will likely have to transition those subcontractors into W-2 employees, because insurance requirements and operational structure. And that's one of the things with insurance companies. They get leery about the exposure. And again, I don't know if it's just semantics or what, but a lot of insurance companies will not insure you if you have more than 20% subcontractors. And you have to have 80% W-2 employees. So that's just something to keep in mind. Let me see, next were contracts. So one of the most important parts of this business is the contracts. And the goal is to always secure the longest term possible. I've seen contracts as short as 12 months. The longest contracts I've seen was 60 months, which is 5 years. Now, when you're first starting out, honestly, you shouldn't be overly picky about the length of the contract. Just try to solidify something, because your goal early on is to get the contracts and build your reputation. Because this industry thrives heavily on word of mouth. And if you consistently do good work, people will start talking about you, and eventually opportunities start finding you. And honestly, that's exactly what happened to us. We built a relationship with Greystar. They're the largest property management company in the world. And we got one of their properties, did great work, blew them away. And they were constantly getting sister properties, and they were referring us to their sister property. So it was almost like the red carpet was getting laid out, and the sales part of it almost just about went away. And it was just an organic growth. And that's something that is very prevalent in this industry. Another avenue we took was we built a relationship with a local developer in our city. These guys built apartments throughout the whole Southeast region, and we ended up landing a master service agreement with them. So everything they built, past, present, future, we will get. So meaning if they get 10 properties next year, you can already sign the dotted line because we have solidified those. So now developer, getting contract with developers, that's a lot stronger than management companies, because when you hear people start talking about ownership, the management companies work for the developers. And no management company is going to buck what the developer wants. So if you can get ahead of the curve and land a contract with the developer, you can be their preferred vendor. So no matter who the management company wants to go with, they're not going to have any choice but to go with you. And that's just the end of the story on that. But again, as it comes to the quality of your service, your reputation will bring you more business than advertising ever will in this industry. And you can put a stamp on that. And I'm telling you, I've seen it and I've lived it and I know what that's like. So see, the next thing is talk a little bit about scaling. Now, here's the mistake I see a lot of companies make. They become obsessed with scaling as fast as possible. And eventually their quality starts to suffer. Now that's dangerous in this industry, especially if your long-term goal is to actually build a lasting company and not just building it to sell. Now, in that regard, I can tell you what to do. In full transparency, I haven't thought about selling to a degree. We have got some pretty substantial offers, but man, we're just getting started. So I want to see where this thing goes. I feel truly blessed that God opened up the door to allow us to grow this way. And when I say us, Valet Trash Kings, just to throw it out there, it's me and my brother. We built this company from the ground up. And I'm just more in front of the camera, and maybe on some later videos, you guys get to see him a little more, but he's really behind the scenes with a lot of things. But now, don't get me wrong, even though you want to scale and you make the money and things like that, once you start making noise in the industry, the larger competitors will absolutely start reaching out to you, trying to buy you out, because they want you to go away. A lot of times when they buy you out, they want to keep you on for a bit, because basically they're your relationships. They're going to take your relationships, put their label on your relationships, and now you're at the mercy of how they do business. So just something to think about. And I know people say, hey, man, the American dream is grow a company to sell it. But, man, honestly, do what's in your heart led to do. If you want to grow it and keep a legacy for your kids, this isn't a bad business to do that in, because, again, this business, it's recurring income, and it's month after month. It just keeps coming as long as you keep getting the deals. But again, if you scale too aggressively and the quality suffers, you can destroy your reputation very quickly. So personally, I believe quality has to come before quantity always. And at the end of the day, Valet Trash can absolutely become a multi-million-dollar business for you. But the companies that survive long-term are usually the ones that, 1, keep their word, 2, protect their reputation, 3, they focus on their quality, and 4, they build strong, lasting relationships. And that's what helped us grow from 54 units in 2016 to over 30,000 and counting today across 6 states. And man, we probably have about 15 deals in the pipeline like now, and we're still halfway through the year. The goal is to get a minimum of 40 contracts a year. So man, we're about to pump some more out. And if you want more real game about entrepreneurship, the valet trash industry, leadership, and scaling the service business, subscribe to my channel and let your people know. Peace.